we have a little walker problem. Now, for the last, I don't know, 2-3 months, I've noticed that the walker MT is hard to start. Sometimes it fires right up, like it's nobody's business, and other times it just doesn't want to start. And it'll be like real delay, like, and all of a sudden it fires right up. And other times it does that for, I don't know, a few seconds, and then finally starts right up. And so I figured the starter was probably going bad. I've never changed the starter on this mower. I think I've had it 4 years now. But there was a brand new engine put in it when I bought it. So, and I'm guessing a new starter on that. Maybe it was the starter from the old one. I don't know. So I've had a brand new starter sitting on the shelf here for a while. And Tuesday when I was out mowing, it worked fine the first half of the morning. And then all of a sudden I started having issues and it wouldn't start at all. And so I'm like, well, I know I'm changing the starter today. So I got home from mowing and I changed the starter. Now, a lot of people say you have to pull the motor to change the starter on these. On the Walker B, has a perfect little cutout. I can unbolt it and pull that starter right out. No big deal. But on these MTs, the starter is down there. And as you can see, it's a brand new starter. So I talked to Brian Shane, and he said, you don't have to pull that motor. Some people said take the blower out. That thing's a nightmare. So I wasn't about to mess with that. Brian said, just take the 4 bolts out of the engine and you can tip it back enough to get it out. Well, what I did was I took this outer plate off, took this plate off, unbolted the muffler to get that out of the way. It's only 4 nuts that go on there that hold it on. And I just put this one on, I think, a year ago. So it was no big deal. It all came off and it opened it right up. I took the 4 bolts out of the motor and I didn't even tip it. I just twisted the motor a little bit and I pulled the starter right out. So I put the brand new one in and I fired it up and it fired it up perfectly fine. Then I cleaned up the garage and I went to start it again and it started doing this. Now, usually when a starter does that on a vehicle, that tells me the Bendix is frozen the starter, which just means it's not allowing the starter to go out and hit the flywheel to turn the motor over, okay? But the old one did that, and here's the old starter here, and now the brand new one does it. So the first thing I would check on a small engine like this is voltage regulator, which would tell me that it's not getting enough voltage to that starter all the time. The regulator's going bad. Okay, the terminals on the battery were corroded to hell and back. The terminals on the starter were corroded, so I cleaned all of those up before I put this back together. I put dielectric grease on all of them. So the other issue that I looked up the more I researched into this was a lot of people say the starter relay goes bad, or it could be the ignition switch. So I ordered a new ignition switch that'll be here Saturday. I ordered a new starter relay that'll be here Saturday. It was like $12 for both parts. But the other thing that has me wondering, this battery. Now, that battery was in here when I got it, and I believe that thing's at least 4 years old. In my experience, you get about 5 years out of a battery. Especially because I don't pull my batteries out in the winter time. I leave them in the mower, store them, winterize the mower, store them, put them away for the winter. So I'm thinking that maybe that battery is shot. I went to the dealer yesterday and I got a brand new battery. So I'm going to change that battery out. I'm going to put a meter on it first and I'm going to see what it's reading. I don't know if that battery's shot. It might just have a dead cell in it or something, which would tell me it's no good. But either way, that battery is at least 4 years old. And it wouldn't hurt to change it out. So I'm going to change that out now. We're going to see what happens. If that doesn't fix it, then I'm going to guess it's either the ignition switch is going bad or that starter relay switch is going bad. So we're going to start with the battery and see what happens from there. now that that's swapped out, we're going to give it a try. Now, I didn't put the voltage meter on that battery. I forgot. I started filming and I just got to taking it out, and I'm going to test it anyway. I would have rather test it while it was on there. That way I can turn the key at the same time and see how much the voltage is dropping. But I'm going to test it just either way on the bench just to see what the battery itself is even reading at. But either way, like I said, it's been in here for 4 or 5 years that I know of, and it could have been in here even longer than that. So it was due to be changed out anyway. I don't like to let them go that much longer, and you guys know how I am just from watching my videos. I'm a huge preventative maintenance guy, and I'm a firm believer that if you don't make time to maintenance your equipment will make time for you. And that's just how it goes, and it always breaks at the worst time. So let's give this thing a try and see if it starts up. Started right up. Let's try it again. Fired right up. Now, in case any of you guys don't know, this here is how you disengage your hydros, which I had to do. That one there and this one here, you lift these levers up and the latches fall into place, but that's how you disengage them, which is what I had to do to get it out of the trailer, because I had it backed all the way in there and it was not starting. So I don't know. I think don't want to put that down first. I think we may have solved the issue, which would be fantastic, because we're now going on 2 days of nothing but straight rain, and I am now 2 days behind on mowing. So I need these mowers ready to go, and so that when I can start mowing tomorrow, I can hit the ground running. The way it's starting to look like is tomorrow, Friday, I'll be starting my Wednesday list from this week. So I got to do my Wednesday list, and I'm going to get stuck mowing all this weekend, most Saturday, and then I'll go to church Sunday morning and then start mowing after that. But if you guys remember how I explained you how I'm doing it to get them done for GIE, I will mow tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday now to get done what I need to from this week. And then starting Monday, I'll start all next week's mowing, hopefully have all that done by Friday. And then next Saturday, I start the following week's mowing, so that I can have all of that done by Tuesday late afternoon, so I can fly out Wednesday morning. So now, because of this 2-day rain delay, I'm going to work starting tomorrow, Friday, as long as I can start mowing, and I'm going to mow all the way through past next Tuesday, all the way up to the following Tuesday. I'll be mowing every single day for, I don't know, a week and a half, almost 2 weeks straight, just so that I can make GIE happen. This is the battery that was in there, and you can see, if I can get you a view here, put that one there and that one there. I'm reading 12.38, so that's not bad. It's a 12 volt battery. That's not bad. That's pretty much where I would want it. But I have a feeling that if I'd have left this in there and tried it, as soon as I crank that key, that voltage would drop way down. So I think this battery probably isn't any good. This is a 300 cold cranking amp battery. What I just put in there is a 385 cold cranking amp battery. So it's a little bit bigger. Same size battery, but voltage wise, it's a little bit bigger, which is good. It's better. It's better for cold cranking amps. Stands for, it's for cold crank. I just said that, cold cranking amps. For what it means is when you're in the cold, you know, a cold start. So when I'm doing fall cleanups and it's really cold outside, like low 40s, sometimes high 30s, when I'm doing these cleanups, it'll make it start a lot easier than if it had a lower cold cranking amp reading, if that makes any sense to anybody. So let's give this one more shot, see what it does. Oh, forward control lever. Fired right up. Perfect. So I may have diverted any future problems or any other problems. Like I said, I did order that new ignition, and I did order that starter relay. It's like 12, 13 bucks, something like that. And those will be here Saturday, but I'll have those. You know, I'm not mad or anything that I already ordered them, knowing that I believe this battery fixed the problem and I don't need them, because I'm a fan of having extra parts for stuff. Like I'll show you, for example, right up here, I don't know if you can see it, but right up here on the shelf, I have 2 spare motors for that power chute. This drawer is full of parts. I have everything from bushings to caps to gearbox seals to springs to fuel line, fuel pumps, fuel filters, you name it. I have spare valve stems, I have roller bearings, I have races and bearings that go in the races, I have spare pins, I just have everything, all kinds of extra parts, seals for the gearboxes, PTO switches. I have a slew of extra parts, and I like to have these parts on hand, so when something breaks, I don't have to wait for a part to come in. I can change it out and be down the road. So it's really no big deal that I ordered them. They'll just go in the drawer with the rest of it. Plus I have spare bigger parts up on the shelves. I have spare deck caster wheels. I have spare, I mean, you name it. I just have spare to almost everything and anything that I could need, which helps me out. And I think in the long run that it's very crucial to running a business, and that's what keeps you going, is having these parts ready, because there's nothing worse than a machine breaking down and then you got to wait for parts, if your dealer doesn't have them. And some parts are more common than others, so it's good to have those parts on hand. And that's pretty much what I stock, the most commonly wear out parts on any of my mowers. As soon as I buy a new mower, like the Wright, and when I had the Ferrises and when I had the Skag, as soon as I buy the mowers, the first thing I do is I take those belt numbers, because belts go all the time. I take those belt numbers and I go to Napa and I cross-reference them to Kevlar belts. Some people love them, some people hate them. I've never had an issue with Kevlar belts. I love them. I've had them forever. And that's the first thing I do, is from day one, before I even run that mower, I run up and get new belts for it. That way I have them. They're in the trailer, on the trailer, whatever, depending on the trailer I'm using. And I have those parts ready at hand. So when something happens, change it out. Even if I got to use, I always have 2 mowers with me at least. And so I can use the other one to get me through the day. But as soon as I get home, I can swap those parts out and be ready to go for the next day. But I know, kind of a weird video. I'm not really... I can't mow today, so you're getting no mowing footage, but this is what I got for you guys today, and this is pretty much what I'm doing. Just screwing around, making sure these mowers are ready to hit the ground running tomorrow, and hopefully I can mow. Okay, real quick, I'll show you guys. I didn't even think about it, but I have this load tester. So right now it's reading right about 12 volts, slightly under. Put a load on it, it goes right down to bad. And when I let go, it goes up to right about 11 volts. It doesn't really, it's slowly making its way towards 12, but that's about all it has. I put a load on it, it goes right back down to bad.